Hey guys, welcome back here to Intuitive Angling. Got a really good on the water video for y'all today. We're going to be talking about springtime cranking when the water temperature is like in the 50s and 60s. This is one of my favorite time of year to fish like a crawdad pattern crankbait. You know, you guys hear about the wigglewort and the rock crawlers working really good. I've got another bait here, guys. There's two baits that actually work better than a wigglewort and a rock crawler we're going to talk about today, and that's the Megabass Super Z2 here. We're going to be fishing this right here, and the Megabass MR Griffon. Guys, these are great options to the wigglewort and the rock crawler. Bass don't see them very much, and they just absolutely love them this time of year. Guys, I'll link both of these crankbaits in my tackle warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to pick up a couple. Springtime pre-spawn cranking, this is where I cut my teeth on it here in the Ozarks. This is like the home of that whole wigglewort type bite. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys the type of areas that I like to fish, and it's pretty diverse, but it's all about rock. So we're going to be cranking a lot of rocky banks. We're going to be showing you guys casting angles, you know, just give you guys a feel for what to look for, and talk a little bit about everything that goes along with it. So we'll get into that in today's video. Also guys, Owen will be filming the video today. I'm not going to be doing it on my own, so it's probably going to look a little bit more professional, so appreciate Owen there. And guys, if you would like to book a private on the water lesson with me to learn how to fish stuff like this or any other technique, just shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blaukat. Get you all set up with the details. So, okay, let's get after it. There we go. Little bitty one there. Little junior model. Okay guys, one of the factors in this cranking deal is water visibility, because water visibility is going to dictate a couple things. It's going to dictate, you know, how deep you fish, the color and everything, your approach in general. Most of the time, if I have water visibility that's under about 1.5 feet, I'm using some type of a, you know, brighter, like a chartreuse sided bait, something that stands out a little bit more. And as it gets cleaner, I'll use more of a translucent look, like a brown phantom or something like that to match it. One piece of advice I'll give you guys, if you're cranking and you have water visibility over, say, 3 foot or so, take a look at this bank down here and notice the shade line on it. You can see here we've got a shade line extending probably about 10 foot off of the bank. Now this is critical. If you can find these steeper banks like this that have shade on it, this is a really good place to fish these crankbaits when that water visibility is a little bit cleaner. The fish will just get more active in it. So this is one of the things I look for. And the dirtier the water gets, let's say as the water visibility gets down around 1.5 feet or so, then the shade doesn't become quite as important. And as always, this technique is going to work better if you got wind. As you can see right now, we don't have much wind on this bank. That makes the crankbait bite usually tougher unless the water's dirty. So if you have water visibility of over about 2 foot, it always works better on a windy day, and even better on a windy and a cloudy day. Got it on a 6-pound line here. There you go. I made a little bit of a move here, guys. The place we started at was really clear. See here, we moved up to some more stained water. The fish was in about 3 foot of water. This is that Super Z2, guys. This is the one I talk about a lot. This is a fish catching freaking bait, man. If you've never tried this thing, that Super Z2 will definitely catch them. Like I said, I'll put that in my tackle warehouse link if you want to get one. The depth that you want to crank this stuff is all relative to the water clarity, because that first place we stopped at, the reason I stopped there was last week when I was down here, the water was pretty dirty and it cleared up big time. There was like 4 foot of visibility, and I think those fish moved off it. So we moved into stained water area here. Hard to catch. You can see a lot of floating debris from the cloud, from the dirty water. But anytime that you have off-colored water like this, concentrate in like 4 foot of water or less. Okay guys, I'm going to explain to you the perfect scenario for this pre-spawn cranking. This is like exactly what you want to look for. Now the first thing, to make it easy, on any man-made impoundment, you know, most man-made impoundments have major creek arms in it. The easiest way to do this is get into a major creek arm. That's what we're in right now. We're at the mouth of a major creek right here. Now, as you can see, if you look over here, you can see this steep bluff bank, and this is called a channel bank. And the channel bank is where the creek, the deep water creek channel, swings tight into the bank, right? Okay, so what happens is you start out on this steep, bluffy channel type bank, and eventually these channel banks, if you look down in front of us here, it turns into a rock transition. Now notice how you have the bank turning from a bluff, more of a vertical structure, into the chunk rock down there. If you look down there about another 100 yards, you can see it starts to flatten out and it turns into a flatter chunk rock type area. Now, the bass can be anywhere in here. You can catch bass on the bluffs, you can catch them on the chunk rock, but this over here is going to be a high percentage area. Now, if you look over here, let me show you. This is a prime example of what we're talking about, our transition area. Right here, we've got a bluff. See, you've got the steep, bluffy type bank. The water drops off really quick on it, and then it immediately starts gradually turning into a flatter rock. Now, this is called a rock transition area. Now, these rock transition areas are key places for bass to set up at. They're high percentage areas. So in other words, I may start out fishing the bluff part up there, and I may catch 2 or 3. There may be some fish scattered along there. But when I get down in here into the rock transition area, this is where you really have to focus and slow down, because this is where you're going to expect to catch the fish at. A lot of those fish are out on the main lake. They're out there deep or suspended or whatever. Water temperature starts warming up, it starts to get into the low 50s, and they start making a move and a migration into these creek arms, because they're going to want to look for those flatter coves back in there to spawn. So these channel banks are like staging areas. They're transition areas where the bass move from the main lake, and they set up on these channel banks, and they're going to hang out here until that water temperature starts to get in the low 60s. And once that water temperature starts getting into the low 60s, they're going to move farther back and they're going to start looking for spawning areas. One of the reasons these channel banks are so good to catch bass on is these are prime areas for crawdads. And that's why the crawdad pattern crankbaits, work really good this time of year, is that bass love to eat crawdads in early spring. There's a lot of protein in them, it helps them build up their egg sacs, and this is prime crawdad habitat for them. So this is why areas like this are really good. This is the thing that you have to fish the whole length of it, nice and thorough, and I'm going to show you guys now how to position your boat in order to catch these fish. Okay guys, boat positioning and casting angle is critical during this pre-spawn cranking deal, because it's all about paralleling the banks. And the reason that you want to parallel the banks is it maximizes the time that your crankbait is in the strike zone. Because right now, the water visibility is going to be anywhere between, say, like 3 foot or less up here. So I'm wanting to target that water that's going to be 5 foot or less. So what I want to do is I want to position my boat tight to the bank like this, parallel, where I can make a long cast parallel to it and try to hit that 5 foot zone as much as I can with my crankbait, like the Super Z2 that runs about 5 or 6 feet deep. So this is very important. You don't want to throw your bait at like a 45-degree angle or straight into it. You definitely want to do like a parallel to it. So it's sort of like this. Most of the time I'm going to be using like just a slow medium stop and go retrieve. That usually generates a lot of strikes. Just going to slowly and methodically work my way down this bank with parallel casts. Large now. Fatty there. Hey guys, let me show you one other really good thing to remember here. Okay. Now, if you take a look at what we got over here, guys, in the pre-spawn time of the year, we talked a lot about the channel banks. I showed you that. Gravel and these 45-degree angle small rock is also excellent areas, especially when you come up on a point like this. Now, I talk a lot about fish staging getting ready to move back to spawn. This is a perfect example catching that fish there. What we have here, this is a channel bank, even though it does not look like a channel bank. The channel's close, but it's just a different slope. But nevertheless, you got that point there. See that point right there? That's a secondary point, and behind that point, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a cove that goes back in there. Now, when that water temperature, right now the water temperature is in the mid 50s. When that water temperature starts to get around 60, that bass that I just caught there and all the other bass down through here, they're going to start moving back into that cove to spawn, and they're going to stage right here on these, again, the staging areas next to the secondary points, next to, you know, the channel banks. And just remember that the channel bank does not always have to be a bluffy, steep bank. So I catch a ton of fish cranking on this type of stuff this time of year. Well, I got hung up there. My bait was hung up. I was hung up on a lay down or a log or something like that, and I popped off of there and he got that thing. That happens a lot right there. If you get hung up sometimes, a fish will actually come over to where that bait's hung up at, look at it, and if that thing will pop off of there, sometimes they'll get it. And sometimes, guys, I've been hung up and I've had the fish pull the bait off of the log where I was hung up on, just doing it on their own. Guys, you have got to get some of those, the Super Z2 crankbait. They eat it, man. Fat Kentucky. Same cast. Another one there. Yeah, I guess what's got the Evan on it? Now that is a Fat Kentucky. A little fatty. Right on the bank. Spotted bass. Super Z2 again, guys. One of the things about this is I like throwing in the springtime, I like throwing this gear on a spinning outfit because, like, I got 6-pound test line on this, and I know we don't have to get it down this deep in dirty water, but a lot of times if you use it on a spinning rod, you can make longer casts, lighter line, and get that bait down deeper. One on the MR Griffon. Both hooks in there like that, it's a good sign. That's when they both eat it like that. It means you got the right color and the right retrieve and everything. so hard to fish here. You can see there's so much debris in the water that I can't even hardly cast that crankbait down there. It's just like I'm fishing at about 50% efficiency. You see, guys, this little spotted bass here, he's been living in some off-colored water. Look how pale he is. His lateral lines are almost all faded out. He's been living in dirty water for a long time. Okay guys, there's some good examples of catching fish on some typical springtime pre-spawn cranking areas. And I sort of want to go over a little bit more details, just sort of leave you all with some more information on this. There's a lot of different variables that determine this, as far as we talked a little bit about throughout the video. But when you're talking about when you want to do this and how you want to approach it, like so much everything else in bass fishing, it has to do with the weather patterns and weather conditions that you have. Now, say for example, when we started out the video, we were in one creek that had what I call flushed out, as far as flushed out the dirty water. We're on Table Rock right now, and last week we had some heavy rains that brought the lake up about 5 feet, as you can see with all the floating stuff in the water here. That first creek we went to, it cleared up real quick in the back, and you had about 4 foot of visibility, and we fished through there for a little bit and didn't catch any. And by the way guys, this whole video we were only on the water about 2.5 hours, you know, where we caught these fish, so quite a bit of action in 2.5 hours. But anyway, I was up in that same creek last week, and it was dirty, and caught a bunch of fish, but it cleared up and those fish had backed out. Probably could have caught some if I would have, you know, maybe went to a different color, fished a little bit deeper. But I was really, you know, wanting to do the video on the crankbait. But we made a move into another part of the lake that's got this dirty water here. And these fish that we caught today, every one of them were probably in less than 4 foot of water. I mean, in that zone. So the depth that these fish get in has everything to do with the water clarity. And the activity, as far as how active these fish are, have a lot to do with the combination of the water clarity, the water temperature, the sky conditions, and the wind. Now, as you can see right now, we've got a bright bluebird sky, and since I'm in dirty water today, this water visibility is only like 12 inches. The cloud cover is not really a factor, but we did notice, you know, when the wind started picking up, the action started picking up, which is sort of typical, you know, with this type of a deal. Now let me show you that again. I want to go over in detail the two baits with you today. Again, guys, this is the Megabass Super Z2 crankbait. You hear me talking about this a lot. I use the shad patterns in the summertime. Guys, I can't tell you how deadly this crankbait is. I have caught so many bass on this thing since Megabass came out with it. It's just, there's something about it. I don't really know. It's sort of one of those mysteries of bass fishing, but the fish just really like the wobble and the profile of it. And I got it coupled up on 8-pound test Seaguar and Vizex fluorocarbon line, straight fluorocarbon, Megabass Levante whip snake spinning outfit. Now, one of the things I want to tell you guys about it is the spinning outfit. You definitely want to consider throwing your smaller crankbaits on a spinning rod. And when I'm talking about smaller crankbaits, I'm talking about stuff like the Megabass Super Z2, even like a wiggle wart. Because here's the advantage about throwing the spinning outfit that we touched on a little bit earlier. You can cast this bait probably 25% further than you can on a bait caster, and this is critical on windy days on these light crankbaits. So you have the option of making a longer cast, which allows the bait to get deeper, and sometimes that's a factor. Not so much today. I probably could have got by with a bait caster, but the spinning outfit still allowed me to make more of a precise cast. Another thing about fishing small crankbaits on a spinning outfit is you can manipulate the bait better. You can put action and you have a feel with a spinning rod that you don't have on a bait caster. And then also you can fight the fish better. You know, I back reel all the time. I never use a drag. The combination of back reeling with a little bit softer tip spinning rod, you know, you don't hardly lose any fish. So that Megabass Super Z2 was the first one. Second we caught them on, guys, this is an awesome bait. I didn't fish it as much, but I know I could have caught just as many on it. This is the Megabass MR Griffon crankbait. Now this thing sort of looks and acts like a wiggle wart a little bit. It's a little bitty stubby crankbait, but guys, I've caught the fire out of this thing, out of bass on this thing in the dirty water. I mean, it looks really good. It's got a little bit different wobble than the Super Z2, but the main thing is the profile's different. And again, I have it coupled up on the same setup, 8-pound test Seaguar and Vizex fluorocarbon Megabass whip snake spinning rod. But again, guys, I will put both of these, as I said before, I'll link these in my Tackle Warehouse link. They're worth getting a few of them. So anyway, this whole pre-spawn cranking deal, it's all about the water temperature being in the 50s. This is when it works the best. It usually starts working once that water hits about 50. And then once the water temperature starts to get up, you know, in the low 60s, when a lot of those fish start actually wanting to bed, you're going to notice that it starts going down a little bit. You can still catch them on it, you know, for the next month. You can catch them on it in 75-degree water temperature, but the really key times are right now. Now, you notice today we caught a lot of smaller male bass. Now, what that tells me is the fact that even though the water's starting to warm up, the bigger females are still hanging out a little bit. So the smaller males are up shallow right now, but you don't know when that's going to happen. We may come down here 3 or 4 days from now and throw the same crankbaits and catch 3 and 4 pounders when those females start moving up. That is activated by a lot of different stuff, like your increasing daylight hours, the proximity of the first full moon when that water temperature gets around 60, but they move up just like that. The males are always usually sometimes the first to move up real shallow. Females were probably not far behind. They were probably a little bit deeper than we were fishing, maybe suspended out a little off the bank, but it's just like anything else, it's timing. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, guys, the on the water video. Drop some comments, man. If you like this video, hit that like button. That goes a long way pushing the video out on the YouTube algorithm. And appreciate you guys supporting the channel, using all the links, and we'll be back with another one soon.